Alright guys, we finally know how the version 6.3 banners are going to look like, and since it's really hard to make a decision on these banners, especially considering the fact that both new 5 stars might be in phase 1, let me help you out and let me give you guys some honest advice on who you should pull for so you don't regret your decision. Alright, so starting with one of the most insane characters to ever exist, Columbina. First things first, if you want to pull for Columbina just like me, let me introduce you to my partner, rushbuy.gg. It is a very trusted and safe way to top up at a much cheaper price. I've been personally using it, and I can confirm that it's safe to use. You can also use my code to get an additional 15% discount. If you want to top up, all you have to do is to just enter your UID and the server that you play on, and whatever you purchased will arrive on your account within 5 minutes. And before someone asks, you're not gonna get banned or anything like that. They're using official authorized top-up services, and as I said, I'm using it myself, and I've had a very good experience with it, so there is no need to worry. That aside, I'm also personally giving away 5 Welkins, so make sure to be subscribed to this channel, comment your Genshin UID and server, join my Discord, and now, let's get back to the video. As most of us already know, Columbina is mainly going to be a Hydro sub DPS and support. However, she can also be used as an on-fielder, but it's quite complicated, so let me explain. Her elemental skill is kind of like a Hydro version of Mewica. It has a 25-second duration, and while it's active, there's a ring behind your character that symbolizes that the elemental skill is active. And while it's active, it's gonna deal some pretty decent off-field Hydro damage, and it attacks like every 2 seconds, which means if you're using her as an off-field sub DPS support, she's gonna deal some damage every 2 seconds. Now, if you're using her in a lunar reaction based team, whenever someone triggers a lunar reaction or deals lunar reaction damage, Columbina will deal an extra hit every few seconds in addition to the off-field Hydro application, and this attack deals way more damage than her basic off-field attacks. And of course, she can enable all of these lunar reactions completely by herself, which means she's not just dealing some Hydro damage, but also lunar reaction damage like Lunar Bloom or Lunar Crystallize, for example. And this is perfect because unlike Nefer or Flint, she doesn't need anyone to activate this reaction for her. Now, she does buff the lunar reaction damage of your team, so as a support and off-field sub DPS, her best in slot teams are going to be Notcry teams, especially since her burst gives a 40% lunar reaction damage bonus to your team, and she also increases the party's moon sign level by 1 if she's in the party. So yeah, most likely you're going to be using her in Notcry teams if you want to get the most out of her. However, that being said, you can also use Columbina on field since she can enable all of these lunar reactions by herself, although I'm not sure how strong this is going to be at C0. But if you desperately want to use her on field, feel free to do that, but don't expect anything crazy. Like, she's not going to pop out 1 million damage or something, I'll tell you that right now, but it should be pretty decent, so definitely feel free to play her on field. And as for her teams, a lot of people think you have to use her in Notcry teams because of her buffs, but I kind of disagree. While it is true that you're wasting a lot of her kit when playing her outside of Notcry teams, she still has some really nice off-field damage, and her Hydro application can be useful in a lot of different teams. The only thing that sucks about this is that she doesn't buff your team at all if she's not in a Notcry team, but I think as long as you have a strong team and a well-built DPS, you're still going to be able to clear all the content even without those buffs. Now moving on to the White Horse. I'm not even going to try to spell her name. She's essentially a DPS just like Skirk, but Geo. The reason I'm saying this is because she's essentially dogshit without Columbina. You can use her with Ino instead of Columbina, but I'll be honest, I don't think Ino can replace Columbina. Like, if anybody tells you that Ino is a solid replacement for Columbina in that team, they're coping. It is just like it is with Skirk. The White Horse needs to be used in a team with Geo and Hydro characters, and if you're not able to do that, you might as well skip her. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. Don't get me wrong, of course she's still usable without Columbina, but trust me, it's not going to be fun to play her like that. I have to say though, as of now, the White Horse seems to be one of the strongest damage dealers in the game, and she might even be stronger than Mevuika or Skirk, even though she scales of defense. But there is a chance that she's gonna be nerfed next week, and if that happens, I'm gonna update you guys. But as of now, she has potential to be the strongest DPS in the entire game. Now as for her teams, as I said, just make sure to use her in a team with Hydro and Geo characters. And one thing that I actually like about her is that she can be used with Zhongli, and it's actually one of her best team options. Her best teams will probably be her plus Columbina plus Iluga and Zhongli or Goro in the last slot. The only problem is that just like with every other 4-star, for Iluga to actually be good in that team, you probably want to get as close to C6 as possible, which is quite hard. You don't have to use her with Iluga though. Just having Columbina and Zhongli or Goro in her team should be fine because she deals so much damage. Iluga is probably not going to change that much. So overall, if you want to pull for her, keep in mind she really wants Columbina and her team options are limited to Lunar Crystallized teams. But hey, if you're just pulling for her because of her design, I'm not blaming you, bro. But moving on to Neuvillette, this one is interesting. A lot of people are glazing him to this day, but fact is, in terms of damage, we have way better DPSs now. However, what a lot of people forget is how easy this guy is to use and how many team options he has. Like, you can use him in so many teams, and for those who don't know, he will also work in Lunar Crystallized teams, so there's a lot of team options for him. And that aside, his AoE is genuinely so insane, it's absolutely ridiculous. In terms of AoE damage, nobody comes close to him. And yes, I know you don't really need AoE in the Abyss nowadays, but we still have the Imaginarium Theater as well as just Exploration, and in those situations, Neuvillette is perfect. You can say whatever you want, but everybody who has Neuvillette knows that once you have him on your account, there's always going to be some use case for him. Just because he doesn't deal 400 billion damage, it doesn't mean he's bad. That being said, if you already have Muelani, you probably don't need him, but I don't think anybody will regret pulling for him. So if you don't care about the new characters at all and you want to pull for Neuvillette instead, I think that's perfectly fine. And now let's take a look at Ineffa. She has actually gone up in terms of value since her release, especially now that we can use her with Columbina, which is a very strong duo. I don't think I need to explain Ineffa's kit, we all know what she does, but is it worth it to pull for her? Well, it depends. Since Ineffa gives your team 12% crit rate, she does have a lot more team options than Columbina overall, but I recommend using her with Columbina because it's just really strong. If you don't have Ineffa yet, but you also want Columbina and you have to decide between these two, let me tell you what I would do. If you have Flints or other electro-charged characters who would work with her, it might be worth to get Ineffa instead of Columbina, but it really depends. Because as I said earlier, if you want to play Notcry teams and you have Notcry characters, generally speaking, Columbina definitely has more value than Ineffa, but if you don't really care about Notcry teams that much, Columbina doesn't really interest you, you like playing Electrocharge and you have characters who work with Ineffa, in that case, it's probably fine if you pull for Ineffa instead of Columbina. Sure, everyone is talking about Columbina and how great she is and all that, but in the end, it really just depends on your account and who you prioritize. But with that being said, let me know down below in the comments who you guys are going to pull for. Feel free to join my Discord, make sure to check out Zibai, and as always, I wish everyone a nice and wonderful day.